And we're back here on Couch Coach Live, a Tuesday night edition here on Couch Coach Live under the lights. We got our guy X. What's going on, man?
Ain't much. What's going on with you, Coach?
Ain't nothing much, man. Hey, we got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. We definitely got to talk about X's Detroit Lions stumping a mud hole in the Ravens on the avenue. So definitely, we definitely got to get into that. We'll talk about Bruce. We'll talk about that. We'll recap the Monday Night Football game. We'll also talk about Bruce Pearl's retirement in quotes. We'll talk about that and my thoughts on it, our thoughts on it. And last week the week prior was the backup quarterback. So we'll talk about that. Our thoughts on the backup quarterbacks. We'll wrap it up our NFL talk with some takeaways. Then we're going to talk a little college football. We're going to talk about two teams that have had great runs in the past, but this year is not their year. We'll talk about Clemson and we'll talk about Florida. And then we'll, talk about our games to watch and also wrap it up with our game ball and final thoughts. So let's get into it. Obviously, let's talk about this Monday night win for the Detroit Lions. A 38-30 win over the Baltimore Ravens. What was your overall thoughts on Monday night? What you got?
My overall thought was like they came out and they set the tone with the first drive, but Baltimore answered on their first drive with the Derrick Henry run. But then when they had that 10-minute drive, 98 yards, I felt like it kind of shifted things, although they went into the half tied at 14 apiece, and then Baltimore came out, took the lead. But it's like watching that game, I kind of felt like we were, even though the score said we were behind, I felt like we were never really behind because it's like we beat them in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Offensive line was dominant. Defensive line was dominant. And that's one thing about Detroit. They have struggled the past 2-3 years with containing mobile quarterbacks. As proven before when we played Baltimore a couple years ago, they beat us in M&T Bank Stadium 38-6. And then following that up, they had Josh Allen had a field day on us in that game. And then your team, Jaden Daniels, in the playoffs. So just seeing them contain Lamar, get a total of 7 sacks, it was a good thing to see. It showed that even though they lost their first game, that the Lions are still a legit Super Bowl contender. They're one of the top 2-3 teams in the NFC, and they're not to be slept on. I know it was a lot of chatter about how they're going to look with losing Ben Johnson to the Bears and losing AG to the Jets. Honestly, I don't really see too much of a difference. I think they may be a tad bit better, especially on the defensive end. Although we lost our coordinators, we kind of kept the same personnel, so it wasn't that. So I really wasn't really fearing too much of a drop off. So, man, just seeing them boys pull that game out yesterday, man, it was good to see. It warmed the heart, and just knowing that now we can contain a mobile quarterback, especially now with everyone on that side of the ball healthy. They look like a legit threat in the NFC. So that's all I got, Coach.
Yeah, and that, like you said, it was, to me, it was a great game. Obviously, like you said, the tempo was early in this game for this team. I know a lot of people looked at that, as far as the drop off of obviously with the coordinators with Ben Johnson and also Aaron Glenn. But that's an adjustment period. And I think that's where you start to look at it, because I know a lot of people, that's one thing too, I think people got to realize this is a week by week base. This is every any given Sunday type of situation where there's going to be an adjustment. I think obviously you look at the adjustment in week 1, and then obviously scoring 52 points last week against the Bears, and then now scoring 38 against the Ravens. I think one thing, Amon St. Brown, I mean, to me, he dominated his matchup with Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah.
And that's it was funny. And that's one thing I love about these type of moments, like seeing it in 4K in real life. When he scored on him, I think that's when y'all tied the game at, what was it? Was it 28-28, I think? Or
No,
it was the
20,
what was it?
21.
20, it was 21-21. It was 21. And he was like, I run this as NI, you know what?
Yeah.
I was like, oh snap, look at this dude.
Yeah.
But you look at that, and then I just like how you guys ran the ball. Obviously, you got that dynamic duo of Gibbs and also Montgomery, and it worked to perfection. 224 rush yards, complete game offense.
Mhm.
I mean, on the in the air and on the ground, and it just lets you show you, like, this Baltimore defense, they're in trouble. This is where it's like, especially when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, we've always looked at that Baltimore Ravens, their calling card was a defense, regardless of who was at the helm. I mean, you think about the 2000 Ravens, you think about even, Ravens of the past, even when they won a Super Bowl in 2012, and then even, so you look at it from that standpoint of defense has been their calling card, and they have struggled mildly as the season started. But I think the big thing too is, even though, like you said, the coordinators, the constant is Dan Campbell.
Yes.
That fourth down conversion, and that takes cojones for what he did in that fourth quarter, because that was a turning point in that game where it could have been a situation where they didn't convert, that would have gave Baltimore an opportunity to potentially score, tie the game. But no, they went for the juggler, and then scored on that drive. So it's just one of those where when people looked at Detroit and said it was going to fall off, no. They may not win 15 games, but they back. They're still contenders in the NFC. Don't get it twisted.
I think that first game against Green Bay kind of had people thinking like, oh yeah, they're going to regress. They're really going to miss Ben Johnson and AG. But like I said, it was the first game of the season. It was a lot of hype. The Packers came in riding the wave of momentum because of the acquisition of Michael Parsons. So they were riding the high. I think we didn't play Detroit Lion football that day against the Packers. And the last two games, we played Detroit Lion football, especially last night. Like I said, the way we were running the ball is we was just beating them up front. And I've never really seen the Ravens, like the past Ravens teams, get manhandled like that at the line. And that also lets you also can see, like, they can't really generate pressure on the edge like that. So if Baltimore can't get to the quarterback, because Goff didn't get sacked at all. I don't think he took too many QB hits at that either. But
clean jersey.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, and I think the weak link for the Baltimore Ravens, I'm not pointing out anyone. I'm not singling anyone out, but I think the weak link for the Ravens defense as a unit is the secondary. And it got torched. And if the front four can't generate pressure, then it's gonna be a long season. I mean, granted, they are in a AFC North.
Yeah.
So you're in there with Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. I'm not counting Cincinnati anymore with the Joe Burrow injury. Cleveland, I I can't trust Cleveland.
Yeah. Unless
And
they can get some consistent quarterback play.
yeah,
Other than that, yeah, and they haven't.
And Pittsburgh is it's like with them, they're week to week because they won the first game. They beat the Jets. Cool. But then
Barely.
barely. But then you lay an egg against Seattle. So, and then you barely beat the Patriots. We beat the Patriots by what? A touchdown?
What? Touchdown, yeah, it was what, 21-14?
Yeah.
If I remember that's correct, I think.
So, like, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what's really going to save Baltimore is that their division isn't as strong as it was in previous years. So I don't think it's time to hit the panic button yet. I mean, I feel like this game, I know we're going to talk about it later on in the show, but I think this game coming up this Sunday is going to be a telltale because now if they lose that game, then I would say hit the panic button. Because you would have lost to Buffalo in Kansas City. Matter of fact, a weak Kansas City team at that. And you lost to a Buffalo team when you had them down by 2 scores with under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna So when we once thought that the road to the AFC was gonna be through Baltimore, like you said, we'll definitely talk about that matchup on Sunday because it's not do or die, but it's a situation where the loser of this, it can be critical. But we'll discuss that as the show progresses.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll kind of kind of pause on the NFL talk. We're gonna talk a little college football, then we're gonna get back into some football because this was some major news that went down yesterday. So obviously, if you are a college football, not college football, there we go, college basketball fan, essentially we all know that the season is getting ready to start. Practices have began for most college teams across the country. So there was some big news yesterday where Bruce Pearl, the coach of Auburn, the team that he led to the Final Four last year, has resigned. Has 706 wins in his career. He had, like I mentioned, 2 Final Fours, one in 2019, and also this one last year. Well, this year in 2025 calendar year. He was a Division II champion in 1995 when he led Southern Indiana. He had stints with Milwaukee, Tennessee, and Auburn. Also, there has been some rumors that he may take a political office, but he did say yesterday that he's going to be more so of an ambassador to the Auburn program, that he's not going to seek any type of political aspirations like a former Auburn football coach in Tommy Tuberville. So he claims he's not going to take that route. So obviously we all know that his son will be taking the reins over at Auburn. What's your thoughts on this sudden retirement of Bruce Pearl?
It kind of reminds me of the Tony Bennett retirement when he just up and retired like right before the season. So it was shocking. He's still relatively young at what, 65? I wouldn't consider that.
Yeah, 65.
I wouldn't consider that old. I mean, we've seen coaches coach until 70s and 80s, so he's still relatively young. I feel like it may be some truth to that rumor. Maybe he doesn't want to put it out just yet, but I feel like for you to retire like that, just out of the blue, I mean, I feel like that rumor about taking political office may have some truth to it. But as far as him being a coach, I mean, heck of a career. I feel like he was one of those coaches that players wanted to play for. His tenure at Tennessee was 145 wins, 61 losses, making the tournament every year. But I mean, it's kind of on his way out of Tennessee, the way he was fired amid those recruiting violations. I mean, it kind of leaves like a black eye. But I mean, everybody has those skeletons in the closet. It's just whenever they get brought to the light. But then, like I said, he turns around, goes to Auburn, and turned him into pretty much a powerhouse in the SEC. I mean, granted, they didn't win a national championship, but you can almost pencil them in to make it to the tournament, have a deep run in the SEC tournament at that. So I say he's, in my opinion, I feel like he's a Hall of Fame coach. And then other than those recruiting violations, I didn't really hear any negative about Bruce Pearl. I mean,
so, I mean, I'll let you in on some negativity.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feel like I'm out of the loop a little bit on that side of Bruce Pearl. So,
and it's kind of one of the things where so the whole Bruce Pearl thing, and that was kind of the reason why I wanted to kind of bring in that rumor, because of that simple fact, because I think that's where he's trying to go, because I still think he can do both. And like you said, I don't think he want to what they call reveal his hand. But I think that kind of one of the things where I think he wants to do the Tommy Tuberville type of route. Obviously the former Auburn football coach turned political maven, quote unquote. So there was, and maybe because we got caught up in the NFL previews and what have you, and that kind of falls on me. But Bruce Pearl had some interesting comments. He was on a show, Dan Dockich, Don't At Me. So he talked about, as far as accusing Barack Obama for dividing the United States with his politics. So I'm going to read this quote to you guys. I get so frustrated when I hear what a terrible country we are, or how racist we are, how this is not the land of opportunity for everybody, Pearl said via Fox News Digital. Look, we've got a lot to work on, and there is racism that absolutely does exist and is wrong, but it's a lot better for players than it was for their fathers and their fathers' fathers. I want my guys to recognize that there are going to be obstacles, not roadblocks. That's what Barack Obama did. However, as our president, I disagreed with so many of his policies. I thought that rather than uniting us as a country, he divided us. Everything was black and white. Everything was about the obstacles that were against my players from being successful. I'm trying to teach my guys, I don't want you to work at Subway. I want you to own 5 of them. I think in many ways, Barack Obama told a different story.
Well, hold on.
Now, this was in July. Ocho. So, me personally, when you have a statement like that, and this is where we should have talked about this when it happened at the end of July. This is the statement where if I'm I don't know if the school essentially, I don't even think the school got rid of him because of that, but that's something where I think the school should have got rid of him for comments like that, because you got to remember, he's recruiting those same guys. He's going into these houses, and we of the culture, so we're just gonna keep it a buck. Mm-hmm. We've been to people's houses that have Barack Obama something. It's almost like, people have like a Jesus piece or a Jesus thing. Somebody got something of Barack Obama. If it ain't the book, it ain't a picture of Barack Obama in their houses. So you think you can go into these homes of these 17-year-old kids, and you think what you just said was gonna fly to any recruit, and you're gonna recruit them to go to Auburn, Alabama? Nah, dude.
Man, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew, 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 whew,
Yeah.
whew, 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 whew.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm still trying to process the fact that he said that. Granted, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but it is clear as day. I'm not saying any names. I'm not mentioning no presidential
Yep.
numbers or anything, but it is clear as day who is responsible for the division in this country. That's all I'm going to say on that part
Right. Oh yeah.
because
Right.
that's all I'm going to say. This is not a political show, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh yeah.
So I now I can still separate Bruce Pearl, the coach, from Bruce Pearl, the so-called politician.
Yep.
Hall of Fame, like I said, in my opinion, great coach, Hall of Fame coach, hell of a career. But I feel like if he plans on taking up political office, I have a gut feeling on how he's going to try to run his campaign. And the blueprint is already set. He's about to use that blueprint to a T, and he's already pretty much chosen his target to condemn as far as blaming, pointing the finger at. Um, and I'm with you. Auburn should have maybe stepped in at the time that this at the time these comments were made because all right, so the show where he made these comments
Yeah.
was that like a political show? Or was that like a sports?
It's a sport. So okay, so Dan Dockich, he's on a network called Outkick. Now, Outkick is with Clay Travis. If you know who Clay Travis is, they're starting to become the provocateurs of it, where like they have the blueprint, like as you mentioned, they have the blueprint where they had guys who, yes, they talk about sports, but they also use that blueprint of so I forgot you on our case. So what the code word that we say was going on, we're talking about the former owner of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. That's what we call them around here. We don't, like you said, we don't do numbers, we don't do names. The former owner of the US of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. But
I got you.
that's right. So yeah, so if you're not in your 40s or late 30s, you're not even gonna know who the hell we talk about. But
I see. Look, now it's hit. Yeah, now okay. I do remember that business venture that flopped.
yes,
But yeah,
yes,
one of
yeah.
many.
So Clay Travis so he has something called Outkick. So he's of the other side. So obviously, and then Dan Dockich, which he used to be on ESPN, he was a part of that. I don't know if he was a part of the '81 Indiana team, but he was. Because I think he was with Isaiah Thomas at Indiana. So he's a form, and he used to. And I used to like Dan Dockich. Obviously, he used to be like play-by-play for ESPN. He used to do stuff for ESPN. Now he's gone over to Outkick, which is, I think, the show is called Don't At Me, which is Dan Dockett's show, which they typically should just, like, when they tell folks on the other side, when they tell like LeBron James and all of them, you know what, shut up and dribble. But then they don't shut up and dribble. So that's what think about. So they're the opposite of what they tell certain people to say, shut up and dribble. They talk and dribble. We'll put it that way.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. Clay Travis is he's one of those type of guys. Yeah. So he owns Outkick.
I wonder if Bruce Pearl said that in his recruiting pitch when he was walking to these homes.
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Because right, and that's the thing, and that's where, like I said, I can separate the two, and that's the thing about all this type of stuff, because he could have been said that. He could have said that when he was at Tennessee. He could have been said that, because you got to think about it. That president been gone for 10 years. I mean, 2017, January 20th, 2017 was the last time he was the president. So we're almost 9 years removed from him being the president. Why would you say this in July of 2025? Like 8 years after he's. Why you didn't say this when you was at Tennessee? Because he was the president when you was at Tennessee. He was when you first got to Auburn. Then when you took your little 3-year sabbatical from Tennessee, when you got yourself in trouble in Tennessee, you left in 2011. He was there. He was there when you first got hired at Auburn 11 years ago. Why say this now? And like, to me, it could be a situation where it's like he was at a point where, hey, I can say whatever because I know about the dip. And that's another thing too. The timing of it is really impeccable to me, because it's like, and to me, that's a disservice to your players too, because you think to yourself, y'all starting practice, like y'all, and the thing about it, this team went to the Final Four last year, and I would assume they were going to have aspirations to become go to the Final Four. So it's just, I find the timing is odd, and for him to say it, and the timing of all that, it's almost like I feel like he planned that. It's almost like that was his FU to get out of situation and then do politics.
And I feel and I hate it for the players, because school's already started. It's kind of too late for you to transfer, especially if you were one of the ones that was recruited by him. Now you got a whole. I mean, his I'm assuming his son was on his coaching staff. So
son been there since he got there. So
so I mean, like I hate when coaches decide it's like at the last minute to leave, especially if the school didn't ask you to resign, or if it wasn't health related or anything like that, just because you want to step into a new field, you decide to pretty much you abandon the guys that you recruited. Now this can either go really, really good or really, really bad, because if Auburn suffers and has a terrible season, those players and kids you recruited, bye. They're gone. They're hitting the portal and they're gone. And the kids that you probably were, I'm pretty sure you were recruiting a class for this season, next season. So
and beyond,
now you putting your recruiters and scouts at a disadvantage now, because now they got to try to convince those kids to keep their commitment with Auburn. We're gonna honor everything that Coach Pearl promised you and stuff like that. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
You at least could have waited until the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I think that was, and and Bruce Pearl has said some other stuff too. I know he talked about like Hamas. I don't want to really kind of get into that, because that's a different layer of it, and I really don't know really much about in hand, but the whole about like the whole Barack Obama thing, I think, like we said, as something that's we know that's, we see it often. We see it all the time with that. But and like with him, his comments is almost like he started the fire, and I think that's where it's like you said, that's the blueprint. You talk about a previous administration, and then you go for it, and then of course the hatred behind that is like, it's gonna fuel his his political aspirations. So that's why I found it so funny of all that. But like you said, we singled it up, And this is a good question. Definitely huge shout out. And I wonder if any of the players who are upset about it are going to take it out and hold it against his son, which I think that's another layer too, because when you think about it, because it's almost like the bird flock. What is it? The
Birds
like
of a feather flock together.
feather flock together. Yeah, and I think that's where you look at it. Even though yes, he's young. I think he's like 30, 38 or whatever, but he's still in that saying he was in that household. He was raised by him. So you would think, the apple don't fall too far from the tree. And yeah, and I think like you talked about the X earlier, where if there is a situation where they struggle, if the team doesn't, if they struggle, then will that be a situation where it could be a max exodus, and then also including the son as well? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I said, this is really a disservice to Auburn, and
Yeah.
it can get ugly down there real quick.
Oh,
Real
for
quick.
sure. Absolutely. Real quick. So we'll kind of shift the focus now. We'll dive back into some NFL. So we got to talk about, and we knew coming into this week it was going to be the several backup quarterbacks was going to play. I think a lot of people did that when they this time last week. A lot of people was like, "Oh, that Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz matchup is going to be trash," but we had three, which it wasn't as trash as many people thought. I mean, as far as if you're a Bengals fan, yeah, it may have been trash, but
Mm-hmm.
we had some great backup quarterbacks did their thing. So we'll first start off with Marcus Mariota, obviously the Washington Commanders backup quarterback. Went 15 for 21, 207 yards, one touchdown, and a win over the Raiders. Carson Wentz, that we mentioned earlier, 14 for 20, 173 yards, two touchdowns, and a win over the Cincinnati Bengals. And then we also had Mac Jones. Mac Jones, 27 for 41, 284 yards, and one touchdown, and a win over Arizona. And its 49ers are still undefeated. Yes, this is a clearance rack, Marshall's exclusive Mac Jones Patriot figurine. So yes, it is a part of the collection here. So.
Oh man. Oh,
So,
man.
out of the three backup quarterbacks, who stood out for you this week?
I'm gonna have to go with. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go with. Ooh, it's between Mariota and Mac Jones
Okay.
because Mariota, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought the Raiders would win this game because I really didn't trust Mariota, but I mean he proved me wrong, so kudos to him. And I feel like that kind of bought Jaden Daniels maybe an extra week of rest and recovery. I mean, who y'all play this week coming up, Coach?
Alano in Atlanta.
I if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm sitting Jaden again. There's no, I mean, get that rest that knee up. You don't. I would hate for him to have that RG3. Like
Yeah.
I felt like RG3 came back too soon from his knee injury, and I don't want that to happen to Jaden. So if I'm Jaden, I mean if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm resting Jaden another week, trotting Mariota out there. Now if Mariota goes out there and win again, and depending on how Jaden Daniels feels after this week, then maybe you can do. Who y'all got after this week, Coach?
Then we got to go to LA for the play the Chargers. No, we need him. He need with the
Yeah,
homecoming. Yeah, we need. Yeah,
so
we need
so
him.
so if I'm Dan Quinn, I will sit Jaden again this week. Like I said, an extra week of rest and recovery, and then bring him back for the Chargers game.
Yeah, because San Bernardino kid got to go back home to Inglewood and ball out for sure.
We that the way Atlanta looked. I mean, it's like a hot mess down there right now.
I know
They living up to the hot Atlanta name right now, hot mess. And then they fired the receivers coach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it's
yeah.
I don't know what's going on down there right now. We're only in what week 4, going into week 4, and it's
Week 4,
already
so it's gonna be 3 weeks. Yep.
And it's already disarray.
Right.
So I'm picking Mariota as the backup QB that shined the most.
Yeah, I think.
No. Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, and I do like most of the process of elimination out of 3. I kind of figured Marcus Mariota was going to have a game similar to this. Obviously, I've seen his body of work as a Commanders. Last year stepped in in the Carolina game. I think we scored 40 points in that game. Might have come to think about it. I think when we played, because Jane Daniels got hurt, I think the first drive, but then Marcus Mariota came in. And then in the Dallas game, they gave Jane Daniels rest in that second half in that season finale against Dallas. And he had that game-winning touchdown, which really helped us, because if we didn't have that, we'd been going to Philly for wild card weekend. But hey, better things happen. So, but I think and obviously we see what Mac Jones have done like this year, obviously with the Brock Purdy injury. I'm gonna give it to Carson Wentz, someone who I didn't think he was. I thought he was literally like kind of 1 foot out the league, and it was kind of surprising when they got him, because obviously we talked about it when we did the NFC North preview. I thought this was gonna be Sam Howell's opportunity, but then they end up shipping, because I was wondering like why they bring in Carson Wentz and then they end up sending Sam Howell to Philadelphia. So it's kind of one of those where, but a great opportunity for him. And we always talk about how KOC does a great job with developing quarterbacks. So I definitely think this would be another good opportunity for him. And in Minnesota, I don't know, Minnesota is starting to become a moment, like it's almost like it's like a retirement home in the sense where you thought guys were like kind of 1 foot out the league, and now they kind of got themselves rejuvenized. You look at like Sam Darnold, you're looking at Sam Darnold, you thought he was 1 foot out the league. Obviously, with his situation in the past, we all was yearning for his performance against USC in the Rose Bowl a few years back. We thought he was going, we thought we could get that, at some point in his career. Now he's doing his thing in Seattle. Carson Wentz, who knows how long? I think J.J. McCarthy could be out for a few more weeks. So you want to see what kind of Carson Wentz does. And he got the weapons. I mean, obviously, I think when Jordan Addison comes back this week. So, and then obviously you got Justin Jefferson. So, I'm more impressed with the former Washington Commanders quarterback in Carson Wentz.
So the only reason why the reason why I didn't choose Carson Wentz is because I think we've seen this with the few quarterbacks that's come through Minnesota. Because when Kirk Cousins went down before, I think Joshua Dobbs stepped in and he played a few good games. What, Nate Sudfeld stepped in and played a couple. No, not Sudfeld. Was it?
No, not Sudfeld. No, it was
Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, Nick Mullins. He stepped in and played a couple good games.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold found a fountain of youth and turned into the Sam Darnold of old.
Yeah. And you think about it, they had got him less than a month ago, and that's another thing too where I was more impressed, because he just got here because they got him after the preseason, where when I definitely thought Sam Howell was going to be that backup, but they had other plans, because that's how I was wondering why they were bringing Carson Wentz in, but so. what are your NFL Week 3 takeaways? Any? What's your 2 takeaways? You can add some if you want to as well too. But your takeaways.
Coach, you know how sometimes in the season it's always that one week where it's always fluky stuff happening. Like not like majority of the games is always something fluky that's gonna happen. Like this week, special teams was like
yeah, I know where you're going.
Special teams was like the trend, and I'm not talking about and I'm not talking about kick returns or punt returns. I'm talking about blocked field goals being returned for touchdowns. I mean, we saw teams lose games because of this. We saw a team blow a lead against the Rams blew the lead against the Eagles.
Yep.
March down the field to get in field goal range, and then what happens? Block field goal, return for a touchdown. We saw in the Tampa Bay game, same thing happened. They blocked Tampa Bay. They blocked Tampa Bay's field goal, returned for a touchdown, but Tampa Bay came down and scored and won the game. But it was just real, like it was like a fluky. You know how like it's always that one week where it's like
1 week where it's
like it's a bunch of fluky stuff that you normally see don't happen that happens.
Yeah,
and I just felt like week 3 was that fluky week, and man, that's my only takeaway. It was just one of those weeks, man.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a very interesting week for that. And I was gonna queue up the Aaron Glenn video because it's hilarious. That's probably by far the funniest moment so far this season when he's doing like the little march and he's like,
did you see the hey look, did you see the video where they matched it up with the Earth, Wind and Fire?
Oh man. What for yeah, man. That was hilarious, man. I think I look at obviously the Chargers, man. They are 3-0 in the AFC West, and you're like they're literally you are halfway through, Chargers fan, for ordering your 2025 AFC Championship T-shirt. Like you're this close. Like put a pre-order in for your 2025 AFC Championship shirt and hat. You make it have it under your Christmas tree at this point potentially. It's so crazy. Like, but I gotta remember this is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
When there will be something that will happen that will prevent these fan base from getting these T-shirts. It may be going somewhere else to another country potentially. But I mean, dude, that's why I like. Speaking of that, like I was trying to get before they ship off those Washington Commanders NFC Championship shirts. I wanted to get one before it went to another country. I was hoping I could get some, like, cause but anyway.
I'm pretty sure they got something. So somebody got some in DC somewhere. They made up some shirts in DC. They got them. They got them in the tuck somewhere.
Could you imagine there's some kid wearing a 2025 Washington Commanders NFC Championship shirt?
Oh, don't worry. They got a 2024 Detroit Lions NFC Championship hat and T-shirt too. Don't worry.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling? Right, and that's y'all should have had it then for real. But yeah, and that's why it's so hard to get back, and that's why people are like, oh yeah, we'll be back. Oh, not necessarily. Not necessarily. That no, just because you were there last year does not mean you're gonna be back. That's you know, you're lightning don't strike twice often. But so I like it, like the Chargers being there. And then just a tough break for former Steelers running backs in the same time period. James Conner Pretty much the ankle injury. They don't even really know the severity of the injury quite yet, even 2 days after the fact. So he's going to be out for the season. Then Najee Harris, that was heartbreaking to see. That non-contact, it kind of reminded me almost like what happened to Austin Eckler, where it's just like it's just a non-contact injury, and especially for Najee, because I definitely thought, especially after what happened to him 4th of July weekend, and him having to go to an eye specialist, I really thought the concern was as far as how bad that injury was, but obviously being able to kind of come back, overcome that, and then now you have the Achilles injury. Yeah, so it's heartbreaking to see those two former Steelers guys, especially a guy like a James Conner, somebody who obviously who's beat the odds, with his cancer battle back in the day and everything. So you always kind of root for a guy like him, even regardless of kind of where he's been as far as in his career, obviously with Pittsburgh and then also with Arizona. So but and then one other ticket, it was tough. It was tough to see that.
We talking about injuries. I was gonna mention the Nick Bosa injury.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
And I was like, it's
in San Francisco, and for them to still be 3-0 with all those injuries is amazing. That's just a testament to Kyle Shanahan and how people tell people that as the kids, when you give guys credit. I don't understand this generation. These young kids, they'll say you're meat riding, pause. But it's like, no. What he's doing is phenomenal. Like, considering the fact all these injuries and what have you, and they're still undefeated. Granted, they may not have played the teams, as far as that we look at it like from a top 10 perspective, but I mean, they still continue to win games. So that's where it's like that it should go to show you kind of that depth and kind of that coaching and what have you. And now, you get backup quarterback. I mean, you got so many injuries on that San Francisco 49ers team. But and then one other one, I kind of liked how, because obviously last weekend was the 50th anniversary of the NFL Today. I like how they did the NFL Today show, the pregame show, bringing in Brett Musburger. I thought that was like kind of a cool thing, and how everybody dressed up in their 70s gear. I liked how I was gonna say JJ Reddick Lloyd, JJ Watt, how he had the big glasses and all that. I thought that was really a cool touch. And I always look at the NFL Today as like kind of one of those great shows. I was telling my people, is like I'm a nerd. Like I used to watch those episodes. Obviously, I wasn't around during the time when I was looking at those episodes, but thank goodness for YouTube, where I remember I look at those shows from back in the day. I can look at something from like 1979 and 1980, obviously with Brett Musburger, the late Phyllis George, the late Irv Cross, Jimmy the Greek, because really pretty much what all came from was that 30 for 30 about Jimmy the Greek, and then that kind of sparked my curiosity about, okay, I want to see what this show's about. And then obviously different variations, we talked about that. And then also when they had Jane Kennedy as well. So it even dated back to, when they had the late Greg Gumbel and also Terry Bradshaw, when in the early 90s and what have you, then kind of fast forward. But yeah, I've always loved it. The NFL Today. I always think that's like that was like, that's a cornerstone. That's like the ultimate pregame show. NFL Today is a legend. So yeah, if you have a board, people want to look at some old NFL Today from like 1978, hey, it's a YouTube for that. But yeah. All right, so we'll shift our focus to college football, and man, the way the mighty have fallen, and so we got which team can turn their season around? 1-3 Clemson or 1-3 Florida. So before we start this, what I really thought about the other day, X?
Mm-hmm.
You know why Clemson's struggling, right? Us as the media, us who voted for the preseason for Clemson. Because guess what happened? And I didn't know this. So, obviously, because this is my first time doing the ACC vote, right? So I
Yeah.
did a little research on the vote from 2024.
Mm.
Unanimous was not unanimous, but the most of people voted for Florida State.
Let's say,
Florida
yeah.
State finished 2-10.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida State, and then now most people voted for Clemson. The majority voted for Clemson, and now they're 1-3. Isn't that something? Like, yo, it's like the curse of ACC votes.
Yeah, man. It's all fault. It's all fault.
Yeah, it's all I blame. Yeah, hey,
I'll take the blame.
hey, hey. I was a little too high on Pop-Tart ice creams.
Yeah, man. Look, man. They treat that ACC. They treat that ACC preseason vote like the Madden curse, man.
I know it's starting to become that. I'm telling you. I don't know who I want to. I'm scared now. I'm like, who's gonna be the outcome next year?
Mm.
Maybe I'll vote for North Carolina.
And watch they turn around and win it for real.
Right. With Steven Belichick. But I digress about that point. Yeah, still a little salty about that. But hey, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man. Hey. Anyway, it's all good though. But anyway, yeah. So which team between Clemson and Florida you think could potentially turn around? And not necessarily saying that they're going to run the table, but more so in the sense that will they at least make a bowl game? Could these two teams make a bowl at this point?
I'm gonna stick with the ACC, and I'm gonna say Clemson. One, because regardless of what people may think of Dabo Swinney, he is still a championship level coach. He is a good coach. I feel like he can turn those guys around. I don't understand what's up with Cade. He's playing. I don't want to disrespect the guy, but he's not playing up to par. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
Florida, that's the difference. The ACC and the SEC is like night and day.
Yep.
So that's why I'm choosing Clemson, because not saying the ACC is weak, because you still got Florida State, Miami, hell, even Virginia's looking tough. Cal, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech already beat Clemson. So I mean, it's just.
Yeah, but yeah.
So I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
I feel like Clemson can at least win. What they're 1-3, right?
Yeah,
I think they can. I think they can squeeze out at least five more wins to make a bowl game. Florida, in the other case, man, I don't know. Like I said, that SEC is, man, that's a nightmare of a gauntlet to run, especially if you starting off 1-3.
Yeah,
you might as well just forget this season and focus on next season. For real.
Yep. Let Billy Mayfield be home with his family for the holidays.
It's
yeah, because I looked at their schedule. Obviously, Clemson probably has an easier road. I still think they got a few losses on their hand. I mean, obviously, I think they'll win not this week, but next week against Carolina. I think they'll destroy them. Boston College is a little bit of toss-up. SMU at home, toss-up. I think they will lose to Duke at home, potentially. I think Duke is, and then they got Florida State as well. They got to go to Louisville, so I think they could potentially win in Louisville. Obviously, they got Furman. They got that bad week sandwich between that Thanksgiving Saturday matchup against South Carolina, which they're going to lose. They're going to get crushed by South Carolina. I don't think they're going to. So I got them. So I pretty much think they probably win like 7 games. I think they will be at the Poinsettia Credit Union Bowl, or maybe the Belk Bowl in Charlotte. Maybe they could, be right down the road and play in that bowl. But
So, did
yeah.
did you give them the win against SMU?
Actually, get them losing to SMU.
Okay.
So I got them a win against UNC, Louisville, Furman, and I think they're gonna probably beat Boston College. I think they're gonna win 2 straight games and then fall to SMU.
So that'll give them 5 wins.
7. Well, yeah. So UNC 1, 2, Boston College 3. I don't think they can lose 3 straight. I'm up. All right,
I'll give them the Duke game. I'm gonna give them the Duke game.
I think that's all I think, because I don't see them losing to SMU, Duke, or Florida State in 3 consecutive weeks. They'll probably be sandwiched in between. So I look at Duke might be a win. It's gonna be close though. I do see them going to Louisville and winning. I do see them obviously beating Furman. But I don't know about South Carolina. South Carolina's gonna be tricky. But that's the thing about those teams, where it's like, especially at the end, this is a rivalry. Anything can go. Like, we think potentially South Carolina might have something going on, and then Clemson can kind of mess up everything for them.
If Clemson lose just one more of these games that's coming up, they might not make it to a bowl game.
And it's tricky because and I think Florida road is, it's gonna be tough. Even though Florida they have the personnel, I think they have good guys on the team as far as good players. But they got to play Texas. Then they got to go to Texas A&M, probably one of the most hostile environments in all of college football. Then obviously they got Mississippi State at home. I think that's a win. Then you got to play Georgia
at
home.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to go to Kentucky, which Kentucky's Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you got to go to Ole Miss, go to Oxford.
Then you got Tennessee coming to town. And then you got Florida State coming to town.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm like, like I said.
Ooh. Boy.
And Legway, and I thought he was going to be a lot better. Obviously, between the SMU game, the LSU game, then going to Miami, and it's like it felt like he kind of regressed. Minus the turnovers, but he regressed from a statistical standpoint compared to obviously the LSU game. He was giving everybody interceptions.
Man, coach, for real. I hate to say it, Florida could end up losing out. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah. I'm at a point where, like I said, I really think that Florida, I don't see. The only win I see is probably that as far as that I would bet any form of currency, even a penny, would be against Mississippi State. That's the only, to me, is a gimme is Mississippi State. But I'm saying that's still right. Out of all the teams that schedule, that's the only team I think conceivably that I think they could potentially win.
Okay.
Like you said, Like I said, if I was a betting man, I even put a penny on the line, it would probably be against Mississippi State. But Mississippi State is still a team that could still kind of wreak some havoc. But they're still a team where it's like it's tricky. And like I said, Billy Napier will be with his family for the holidays. Hell, he might be home for Halloween, giving out candy to the kids at his house. I think it's going to get like that. Because at this point, you're losing to Texas, so that makes you potentially 1-4. Texas A&M, you're 1-5. I would not be surprised if we're sitting here 2 weeks from today, which would be October the 7th, that Billy Napier is fired. Because I don't think they have a shot against Texas. They don't have a shot against Texas A&M either because that hostile environment. Now, so if they're 1-5, I can see us being here 2 weeks from today on October the 7th and saying, yeah, we're talking about Billy Napier being fired.
Yeah. Because then it really wouldn't even matter if they beat Mississippi State or not, because then you got Georgia
Yeah.
on the road to Kentucky, on the road to Ole Miss, Tennessee coming to town,
and
Florida
Florida
State
State
coming to town. So I mean
and
it. So it don't really matter if you beat Mississippi
right,
State or not, because
right.
your last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 out of 5 games are against teams in the top 15.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty
they're all
sure,
right.
and I'm pretty sure their rankings may change.
Yeah, and they will.
Yeah. So,
and you think to yourself, and these teams are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. I mean, obviously, we're looking at, because who knows what's going to be the outcome of Alabama, Georgia this coming weekend. But down the road, Kentucky could be somewhat in the fold. Ole Miss could be in the fold. Tennessee could be in the fold, because these are going to be like do or die games for these teams anyway. So they're going to come in with that. Hey, we need to make a push, and then obviously Florida State, who we may think that may be the flag barrier for the ACC, they're gonna be playing for something. And these are, I mean, you think about it: Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State are still like in that college football playoff, in contention. Like literally, like almost have more than a 50% chance of making it now. So obviously, so yeah, and I like I said, I can see Billy Napier being fired after the October 4th game against Texas A&M, or when because I didn't even factor in the bye weeks with him, but after that Texas A&M game, I can see him being fired. If they 1-5, because at this point, like say, ain't nothing really salvaged, because if you're 1-5, you're not making a bowl game. Not with what you got left. No. You're not going to run the table. And this ain't like how it was last year, where I think when they started like 0-3 last year, they kind of ran the table. But this year's is a little bit different. So you don't have what was that quarterback? Mertz was the quarterback last year. So yeah, and so you don't have that. And obviously Legway, I definitely thought a lot of people kind of looked at him like he was going to be like that next superstar, but he hasn't lived up to the hype at this point, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Florida has a
gauntlet,
a very hard road to 6 wins.
Gauntlet at this point, yeah.
I would hate to be them.
Oh, for sure. But and then it was funny, man. And then of course everybody talking about like and that's one thing I like about how these bench behind college football, and now everybody talking about like about the like the buyout of Billy Napier, and they're like, well, they're not gonna be able to afford it. And then one dude commented, he's like, man, Florida got money. They created Gatorade. I like, yeah, you facts. They got hand over fist. Because every college program, it got Gatorade. So they got some money.
Yeah.
They can right. So this ain't a situation where it's like Virginia Tech, where like, hey, we get ready to get a little surplus in our budget. Florida gonna have a surplus every time, because everybody is drinking Gatorade at every college campus. Any day in the life of these college athletes, everybody drinking Gatorade from sea to shining sea. People drinking Gatorade.
Got that right.
They don't worry about them. They won't be broke. They'll never be broke. Yeah.
Nah.
Gatorade ain't going nowhere. But yeah. So we gotta talk about what is a game to watch this weekend, and we prefaced it like as far as excluding us guys, because we know we're gonna be watching those with for sure. That's gonna be a guarantee. So what's some games to watch for you this weekend? And you can talk about college, NFL, any other sport that's going on. If you want to talk a little baseball, hey,
I want to. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna pick college first. Obviously, it's the Alabama Georgia game. I think that's gonna kind of determine. It's kind of going to like solidify a spot for one of these teams in the college football playoffs. Well, give them a good shot of making it and probably securing and maybe helping them get a step closer to the SEC championship game. As far as NFL, I'm gonna go with Ravens Chiefs because these two teams were and are considered like the cream of the crop in the AFC, along with the Buffalo Bills. So one of those teams are going to fall to 1-3, and I feel like whichever team falls to 1-3, it may be time to hit that panic button.
Yeah.
And then one more. I think another. This is going to be a different sport. WNBA, their playoffs. I think that that Las Vegas Aces and Indiana Fever series is going to be what this round is best of 5, right?
Yeah, semifinals. Yep.
Oh yeah, it's going all 5. It's going all 5, and I'm eager to see can the Fever pull off an upset without Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
And if they do pull off this upset, what does that say about the Indiana Fever regarding Caitlin Clark?
Who you telling?
And please don't let them win the championship and she don't play.
Yeah, man. Bruce Pearl and them gonna be mad. They're gonna be like, they said it all yesterday.
But then, all right, now let's say, all right, I know I'm looking into the future, but let's say Indiana does make it to the WNBA finals, and they lose. Don't matter. They achieve something that nobody probably thought they was going to make it even to the WNBA finals. Now let's say they don't even sniff the playoffs next season. Just saying, what if? Or they don't make it back to the finals next season with it. I'm assuming with the healthy Caitlin Clark. Then I think some conversations gonna need to be had.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna leave it at that.
They go.
Leave it at that.
I'm gonna be a little messy. I'm gonna be a little messy about it. Now, don't take my cancer the next like 30 something seconds to 90 something seconds lightly. Don't take it. Just take it as a joke. Take it as for fun. But yeah, they're gonna blame Coach White first. They're gonna blame her, Stephanie White. They're gonna blame her, and then they're gonna probably blame Aaliyah Boston. Because that's what they do. That's what their fan base does. It's because they look at her in such a high regard. And she's a great player and all, but I think they take it a little too serious. And I think, like we said, it's the Bruce Pearl type of situation where it's like they put blame on others that isn't there. Because I know every time something happens, they lose, they always blame like Aaliyah Boston. I'm like, well, really? Like, I mean, like y'all really watch the game? What color glasses y'all watching? What kind of color glasses y'all watching?
And look, I think it's funny because a while ago, Jeff Teague on the 520 podcast made a statement about Kelsey Mitchell being the best player on the Fever. And he kind of got crucified. He kind of got crucified for his comments.
Yes.
But I feel like she should be getting the last laugh because what he said, regardless if Caitlin Clark hurt or not, Kelsey Mitchell has led this team from the time Caitlin Clark has been hurt to now, and she's got them in the
semifinals.
Semifinals.
Yeah.
And like I said, if they somehow pull off the upset over the Aces and make it to the finals, regardless if they win, regardless if they win the championship or not. I mean, like I said, it's some conversations that's going to be had and about the Fever and who's the number one option.
Yeah, because currently it's in the first quarter. We'll get Aces up 20-13. So
Okay.
they're trying to tie the series. But yeah, I'm like you said, Kelsey Mitchell's been the one that's pretty much, been like their major cog in this operation with it. And like, and to beat Atlanta Dream team, a 30-win team with the Atlanta Dream, spoke volumes. But yeah, and that's one thing too. It is what it is. It's almost similar to other situations where without a star player, teams still kind of advance in their strange ways. But yeah, I know it is what it is. But I think obviously the game to watch, obviously NFL wise, definitely it's gonna be Kansas City at Baltimore. What I find so funny is I didn't think we were going to be at a point where this was going to be a kind of do or die situation in a sense where I thought these teams probably would come in with at least above 500 records. Both of these teams coming in this matchup 1-2. And like you said, if whoever loses this game is going to be 1-3, which is going to be really strange because these are the two teams in the AFC that have been like the perennial 10+ wins seasons in the last few years here. So whoever falls at 1-3 is pretty much gonna have to run the table. They have to at least win now the final 13 games to even get to 10 wins. So it's one of those where it's whoever's at 1-3 is gonna have more of a downhill climb than the team that's gonna be at 500 when it's most clear in this matchup. This is kind of a matchup that's really ironic because you think, okay, both teams are 1-2. Like, why is this like a season-defining moment? But it's for these teams, it is because they have been like the torch bearers for the AFC. Obviously outside of like Buffalo and what have you. But so that little Oregon versus Penn State, that's going to be an interesting matchup. And to me, is this going to be necessarily a kind of a college football playoff elimination game of sort? Where you look at it where can Penn State win a big game? And that's where it's like, a lot of people, that's been their knock, especially in a lot of it too, even if you get this early September win, nobody's really going to respect it because obviously, come November, they've kind of been a team that's kind of had faltered as the season progressed, like as far as late in the season. So that's one thing too, where you look at it from that standpoint. And then obviously LSU versus Ole Miss. To me, this is a great matchup of almost on the line of the Alabama Georgia, where these are kind of like a tier 1, tier 2 type matchups in the SEC, where all four of these teams have the potential of making to the college football playoff. I know that sounds crazy, but obviously you'll get probably 3 in from the SEC, 3 or 4, probably more than likely. So it's going to be kind of one of the things how it all kind of positions itself. But so we'll round out tonight's show. Your game ball, and we'll do your game ball first. We'll get this week's game ball for you.
I'm gonna give my game ball to. I know I'm gonna butcher his first name. I'm just gonna say Muhammad of the defense end for the Detroit Lions, played opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. He stepped up and played a major role after we placed Marcus Davenport on IR. And it's like we've always It's like Detroit has always been looking for someone to play opposite of Hutch, because Hutch is going to take on the double teams and get all the attention from the offensive line, and whoever's playing opposite of them is going to have one-on-one matchups, and you have to win your one-on-one matchup. And I felt like Muhammad did that. He ended up with 2.5 sacks, 2 tackle for losses, and he played one hell of a game against Baltimore last night.
Yeah. I gotta give mine to my guy Luke McCaffrey getting his first career touchdown. And it's one of those things where I know a lot of people in this Commanders fan base looked at kind of Luke McCaffrey almost similar to his brother, where they thought he was going to be a guy that was going to essentially out the box was going to be like this, this huge contributor for the team, which he's made some great plays. But for him to get that touchdown, to kind of seal the deal for the Washington Commanders win on Sunday versus the Raiders. So gotta give it to my guy Luke McCaffrey, man, getting that tutty. So huge shout out to him. So we're around the show with our final thoughts, social media, and then what you got going on.
Social media is my IG is GameOnMedia_X. My Twitter/X handle is X_J_SR. Only thing I got going on this weekend is doing coverage for the Florida State Virginia game, and then doing coverage for the Howard versus Richmond game.
Yes, and I'll be joining you there on Saturday as I continue my third year covering University of Richmond football. So obviously, like we had talked about it before, had a prior engagement, didn't make it on Saturday. So yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Under Couch Coach Live, social media, the website couchcoachlive.com. So before we head on out, my final thought, I definitely want to give my sincerest condolences to the family of former Cincinnati Bengals Thomas Dale running back, Auburn running back Rudy Johnson, obviously from our area here, passed away early this morning of apparent suicide at the age of 45, which and oddly enough that he was getting ready to turn 46 in next week. So very shocking to hear that. Obviously, if you are in this area and you've, obviously, watched high school football, especially of the age like of me, if you're your early 40s, late 30s, you remember obviously what he did at Thomas Dale, and then obviously made his way in the NFL with Cincinnati Bengals. If you remember the Bengals back in maybe like the early to mid 2000s, what he did, but definitely want to send my condolences to the family of Rudy Johnson, man. That was tough news to hear, especially like we talked about as far as being from this area, and just the whole fact of having guys like that pass away, and especially of the nature of his passing, is really just heartbreaking for sure. Yeah. So
prayers and condolences to his family.
For sure. So yeah, man. So this wraps up episode 365 here on Couch Coach Live, man. We will catch you guys next week, and we're out.
Peace.